All right, day 109. So today we're going to be focusing in on a review of things that we've done before, except we're going to focus on doing them by hand. You can practice using a calculator, but today's focus is going to be by hand. So first I'm going to start off with solving this inequality. So whenever I see inequalities, the things that I think are, I want x on the left, and if I multiply or divide by a negative number, I gotta flip my sign. So let me go ahead and rewrite this. That's a lot going on there. So the first thing that I want to go ahead and do is I want to go ahead and move all of my x's. But it looks like there's a parentheses there. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that. Let's distribute in. I'm going to copy everybody over exactly as it is. I did not change anything, so my symbol should not change directions. Now, I want to go ahead and start moving everybody over to the left. So I'm going to move this guy over to the left. Now I'm going to ask myself, did I multiply or divide by a negative number on both sides? No. So my sign's going to stay the same. Now I'm going to go ahead and start doing the rest of the things that I need to do in order to get my x by itself. I see that it's being bothered by that 6 and a negative 3. I'm going to do exciting move, great divide. Always what's not touching, and then whatever is attached. So I'm going to move my 6. Again, I did not multiply or divide by a negative number, so I'm going to go ahead and leave my symbol exactly the same. Now I'm going to do great divide, whatever my coefficient is. And because I did divide on both sides by a negative number, my symbol is going to change directions. So my answer should be A. Number 2. The graph of the quadratic function f is shown on the grid, blah, 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 blah. What is the y-intercept? So I'm going to look here at my y-axis, and it's touching exactly at 8. So my y-intercept is equal to 0, 8. Here they're asking which table represents y as a function of x. Fancy way of saying no repeating x's. And it also passes my vertical line test. So I'm going to look through my first one. Looks like those guys are repeating. That's not it. Over here, they're all repeating. That's definitely not it. Here, also have a repeat. And no repeats. My answer is D. Next one. So let's pretend like I forgot how to factor, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and work this in the forward direction. So I'm going to look at this very last number. So whenever I have something that looks like this, I can multiply these two and see if they are the same as the very last one. And I can multiply these two to see if they're the same as the first one. So remember, we're focusing on by hand test-taking skills. So 5 times negative 1, that's not positive 5, so that can't be it. Negative 5 times negative 1, that's possible. Negative 1 times negative 5, that's possible. Positive 1 times negative 5, definitely not it. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and keep looking. They both have the same values there, so there's no difference. Let me go ahead and look at what would happen with my answers. So this should be negative 5 over 2, positive 1 over 3. Oh, excuse me, wrong one. So it should be positive 5 over 2, positive 1 over 3, positive 1 over 2, positive 5 over 3. Well, now I need to just check them straight up because I still can't see an answer. So I'm going to say this times this. So 6x squared minus 3x minus 10x plus 5. That's a negative 13. That is my answer. I could have also went ahead and factored it. So I could have did a times c, added up to b, broken all my factors out. And let's go ahead and do that. So 6x. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply a times c. So 30, need two numbers, they when added together give me negative 13. So because they add together to give me a negative number, and they multiply together to give me a positive, and I know at least one of them's got to be negative because that negative 13, then I know that both of my numbers should be negative. So let's go through a couple of different numbers. So I'll say negative 1, negative 30, no. Negative 2, negative 15, no. Negative 3, negative 10, yes. So 6x squared minus 3x minus 10x plus 5. So now I'm going to factor from the first set. I'm going to factor from the second set. I'm going to make sure that the guys on the inside of my parentheses match. And I'm going to combine like terms. Remember that my answers are going to be opposite over coefficient. Look back. I verified that is C. Next one. The table contains some points on the graph of an exponential function. Based on the table, which function represents the same equation? So first thing, I'm going to realize that the numbers always are set up in this way. This is going to be my y-intercept. This is going to be my factor of change. So I see here that they're going down. I see we started at 256. And inside of the parentheses, if I multiply that by, let's say, a number that's bigger than 1, like 2, they would grow. So I know it can't be multiplying by a number that's bigger than 1. It's got to be smaller than 1. So I know that's not the answer. I see that this one's on the outside, so it's got to be D. How do I know it's 0.25? Here to here, divide by 4. Here to here, divide by 4. Divide by 4. So it's 0.25. The same thing as multiplying times 0.25. Next one, simplify the inequality. All right, first, let's go ahead and get rid of those parentheses. Now I'm going to move all my x's over to the left. Since I did not multiply or divide both sides by a negative number, I'm going to go ahead and leave my symbol the same. Now I'm going to go ahead and move my 6. No change in my symbol. Now I'm going to divide by my coefficient. And I end up with an answer of x has some relationship to 7. Since I did multiply or divide by a negative number on both sides, my symbol changes directions. It is x is less than or equal to 7. Next one. Simplify the following inequality. Again, same thing. Let's combine like terms. Let me move this 16 over. Did not change my symbol. Now go ahead and divide. Since I'm dividing on both sides by a negative number, my symbol is going to switch places, and I have an answer. All right, second to the last one. A line has a slope of -2 and goes through that point. What is the equation in standard form? Okay, so first thing, y equals mx plus b. y equals mx plus b. I have an m, I have an x, I have a y, but I do not know what b is. So let's solve for it. 9 equals negative 2 times negative 1 plus b. So b is equal to positive 7. Okay, let me make some more room here. So if my equation looks like this, in slope-intercept form, in order for me to make it look like that, let's move my x. Let me verify. Remembering that a has to be positive, it's got to be a whole number, and x and y have to be on the same side. And it looks like it is. There's my equation. All right, let's simplify this expression. So remember, we're going to take it step by step. Number with number, and each letter with each letter. They only mix around with themselves. 64 over 16, that's 4. X to the power of 5 minus negative 3. Y to the power of 4 minus negative 2. Z to the power of negative 2 minus negative 2. Let's start simplifying. So 4, x to the power of 8, y to the power of 6, z to the power of 0, which I can just get rid of because that's 1. So there's my final answer. Now, this one is my system of equations. Remembering that we learned how to do this on graphs, we learned how to do it by hand, but let's do this one by hand. First thing I see is that none of my numbers really line up with each other. But what I do see is that's 1 and that's 2. So I'm going to try and eliminate. I'm going to multiply this guy by negative 2. So 6x minus 2y equals 6. Now I'm going to go ahead and add these two together. 10x equals 20. So now I have an answer for x. I can plug it back into whichever one would be easiest. I think it'd be that, because that's already a 1y. So negative 3 times 2 plus y equals negative 3. So my solution is 2, 3. Or if they were only asking for x, it would be 2.